Chemistry is a pure science that deals with the composition, properties, and uses of matter. In our everyday life, we encounter chemistry, and that is why chemistry is very, very important for us to study. Chemistry is one of the pure sciences that we are supposed to study if we are to be writing WAEC, NECO, or JAM. The others are biology and physics. So why do we study chemistry? You have a palm wine. When the palm wine is freshly gotten from the palm tree, it tastes very sweet, but after some time, it sours. So what makes the palm wine to sour? Chemistry. You have a nail. A newly bought nail or a newly made nail is normally very shiny, but after some time, the nail gets rusted and looks exactly like this. What causes the rusting? Chemistry. When you're sick, you buy drugs, you take drugs. So, what are the elements or compounds that make up the drugs? So that when you take them into your body, they function effectively in order to make you to get well. The process of making these drugs is also chemistry. So there are plenty things in life, in our everyday life, that has to do with chemistry, and that's why we study chemistry. So as a way of introduction, we are going to be looking at the definition of chemistry. Chemistry is a pure science that deals with the composition. What are the makeup components of the drugs that we take? The chemicals that we use, the detergents. What is the composition? What are those elements that come together to make it up? Properties. How does these chemicals, how do the chemicals, how do they react? What are their properties? And uses. What and what can they be used for? So chemistry is a pure science that deals with the composition, properties, and the uses of matter. Matter is anything that has mass and occupies space, just like the chemicals that we're talking about. So now, in our everyday life, we encounter chemistry. So what are those things that happen in life that are actually chemistry? We'll talk about making palm wine sour, just like I showed you earlier. Rusting of nails, just like I showed you earlier. And drugs production, how you go about producing your drug. Also, the process of cooking our food, lighting matches, and burning of firewood. All these are chemistry happening in nature. So in time, we are going to be studying all these in details. And that is chemistry. So when they ask you in class, why are you studying chemistry? You study chemistry because you want to understand all these that happen in your everyday life. And chemistry is a pure science because it goes through the normal process that every science, every pure science goes through in its study, such as observation, carrying out of experiment, formulation of hypotheses, formulation of laws, and taking down records. So all the processes that every pure science goes through. Chemistry is a very, very important subject, and that is why we study it in secondary schools. What are the uses of chemistry? Why do we study chemistry? What are those things that we can use chemistry to do? If you want to grow food in the farm, we need fertilizers to help our crops to grow very well and in a very healthy form. We also need insecticides to kill the weeds so that they don't disturb our crops. So in order for us to grow food, we need chemicals, because it is with these chemicals that we make the fertilizer as well as the insecticides. If we want to build a house, we need concrete, we need cement, we need tiles. All these things are made from some chemicals. So we need to study them in chemistry. In military and space travel, we need to manufacture ammunitions. The gunpowder and the ammunition that we need for our military, we also need chemistry to know the way to produce them. In medicine and in pharmaceuticals, where we produce drugs, we need to know the right chemicals to mix together in order to get the right effect. So all these things are the uses of chemistry. And as a way of getting down your notes, I have them outlined on the board. Uses of chemistry. Food. In order to have food, you need fertilizers in your farm so that our crops can grow very well. And we also need insecticide to kill the weeds. For clothing, in order for us to manufacture have good textile and fiber production, we need to know how to make the chemicals that are used for this. In our military and space science, we need to manufacture ammunition. So how do we go about it? The knowledge of chemistry helps us in the manufacture or production of ammunition. And in space science, we need to know chemistry in order for us to explore very well the outer space and the planets. For housing, we need cement. So what are those chemicals that we use in producing cement? We also need concrete, steel, tiles, and other things. Then in medicine, for us to produce drugs so that we can live healthily, we need to know the components of these drugs, and that is chemistry. For transportation, we need to know the right fuels to use and how to make this fuel, how to do fractional distillation. In Nigeria here, the major income that we get is from our crude oil. So how do we turn this our crude oil to final products like PMS and diesel? We need the knowledge of fractional distillation, separation, and that is chemistry. So we also need chemistry to produce alloys. An alloy is a combination of metal that can make it very, very effective for use in producing automobiles because it brings out the best quality in those metals whenever they are combined. So chemistry can be used in all these areas in life: food production, clothing production, military and space science, housing, medicine, and transportation. And that is why we learn chemistry. So chemistry is a very, very important aspect, or is a very, very important pure science. Chemistry is very, very important for us to survive as human beings in life. But at the same time, chemical processes also affects human being and the environment adversely. There are some chemical processes that harm the environment. Example, pollution. When chemical waste from oil industries, like we have in the Niger Delta, when these wastes are discharged inappropriately, maybe through gas flaring or discharged due to pipeline being damaged, this can cause very, very harmful effect to the environment. When there is oil spillage, the chemicals in the oil are not very friendly to the animals or animals that are in the water. The aquatic life are adversely affected. Also, when you do oil flaring or gas flaring, these gases that are discharged into the atmosphere are not very good to the environment. If you go to some states, you find out that people are taking cocaine, morphine, and heroin. Youths are addicted to this and they continue to take it, and it's not good to their health. That is abuse of chemistry, and it's also called drug abuse specifically. Also, corrosion of iron makes the iron not to be glittery and to look good the way we would have wanted it to, or the way we would have wanted to be looking. All these are adverse effects of chemistry, and they need to be checked. In order to check drug abuse, government has to bring out strict laws in the manufacture and transportation of these drugs that are not good, drugs like cocaine, morphine, or heroin. There has to also be strict laws on gas flaring. Chemical waste from oil industries has to be discharged in the proper way. There has to be good education to the youths so that they will know how to use drugs. And corrosion can also be prevented by using alloy and cathodic protection. So, as a way of the adverse effects of chemistry are corrosion of iron, rusting in the presence of water and oxygen. For rusting to take place, there has to be water and oxygen. And this corrosion of iron can be prevented by alloying, coating, cathodic protection, and use of sacrificial metal. Pollution, which is caused by chemical waste from factories and oil refineries. They actually pollute the environment and harm living things. How do we check this? By having or doing safe discharge of this waste and treating them actually before you discharge. If you treat the waste before you discharge into the water bodies, they will be less harmful or even non-harmful. Drug abuse, when people are addicted to drugs like heroin, cocaine, morphine, it can damage their health. And this drug abuse is very, very dangerous to human life. And for us to check this, we need strict laws, and we need to educate the people that are taking it that it is not good for them. So you see these three adverse effects of chemistry, and you see how to prevent them or check them attached to them. So WAEC may ask you such questions. How do we take care of corrosion? By alloying, coating, cathodic protection, and use of sacrificial metal. How do we take care of pollution? By making sure that the waste are safely discharged and treated before discharging. How do we take care of drug abuse? By enacting strict laws and also educating the populace. So that is the adverse effects of chemistry and how they can be controlled or checked. When you study chemistry, you want to get a job after studying chemistry, maybe in the university, you come out, you want to get a job. What are those job opportunities that are available for people with the knowledge of chemistry? Where can somebody that studied chemistry work? Where can he or she get employment? There are many places that somebody that studied chemistry can work. You can work in the oil industry. Nigeria has plenty oil industry companies in Lagos and in Port Harcourt. You can work in any of those places if you have the knowledge of chemistry. You can also work in food processing industries. Those industries that make milk, canned food, you can work with them. You can also work in the industry that give health services, the pharmaceuticals. Those pharmacists, they will have knowledge of chemistry, so they can work in pharmaceuticals. They can also work as chemists. Also, people with the knowledge of chemistry can also work as teachers or lecturers in universities. So when you have the knowledge of chemistry and you get to the university and study courses like biochemistry, pharmacy, chemical engineering, there are lots of opportunities for you to work. So you can also work as a chemical engineer in oil industries. So as a way of getting notes, I've outlined this on the board. So somebody with the knowledge of chemistry can work in the industry that gives teaching services. He can become a chemistry teacher or lecturer for secondary schools, universities, polytechnics, and all the rest of them. Can also work in food processing industry. People like food technologists, research chemists can work in food processing industries. They can also work in petroleum and petrochemical industries, like the chemical engineers, laboratory assistants. Also, they can work in health services, like the pharmacists, those that produce drugs, the biochemists, the nutritionists, those that advise us, counsel us on the best food to eat. They can also work in extractive industries, like the chemical engineers and the research chemists. Extractive industries, how you get the metals and other things out from the earth crust. They can also work in the agricultural sector as agriculture scientists and chemists, and also in forestry as scientists who do research on the best possible way to conserve our forests. So all these are career opportunities for those that have the knowledge of chemistry. So when you're studying chemistry, don't feel bad because